John, are you there?
John?
I'm right here.
Yes. Hello. That is my biggest fear. Finish for the day.
How are you this morning, John?
I'm doing fine. I'm really discombobulated, but I'm fine. How's it going?
Very well. We'll send you softball questions then.
I'm ready for it all.
Well, it's very early, so thank you so much for getting up. And I know the first thing out of my mouth that I think a lot of They Might Be Giants fans would want to know is, are you sitting there with a mug of coffee right now? And if so, what are you drinking?
Well, I've got some black coffee poured out, and I'm just about to put it in an ice cube because I don't have. I'm running behind, and I didn't get the fresh pot going, so I'm going with the iced coffee today.
Okay, that'll work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, happy 10-year.
How are you guys doing? Good.
This is our 10-year anniversary of doing this. Can you believe it?
I know. I really appreciate that. It's a beautiful thing that you guys do this. It's really always unexpected for me. So
it just gets bigger and bigger every year. Honestly, I feel like we are taking requests and they're texting it in, and it's literally just popping up nonstop. I know that I never get to all the requests, but it's just going crazy. And in requests from
Poland, Estonia, Germany,
Sweden, all over the place.
Oh wow!
And I just got done playing off of the EP I just got in the mail. I just got done playing my vinyl copy of No Stopping a Unicorn, which came just in time. So we had a request for that too. It's been busy, but it's been awesome.
Fantastic. Well, I really like the graphic design. Although I was afraid that the estate of Walt Kelly was going to get after you guys. It looks really good, though.
Yeah,
really good stuff.
Yeah, that's all Henrika, and she's. We're all in here wearing T-shirts of different designs with the logo on it too. So and we've got this giant blanket hanging in the studio with the design on. We're surrounded by it. It's pretty fantastic.
Oh, wow! Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, I guess there's no avoiding the hard-hitting questions. What's on the list?
Well, do you want to go with your question first?
Well, here's a question that I had. How did your performance with the Middle-Aged Dad Jam Band come about? Because you recently performed Born to Run with them.
Oh, right. My friend Amy Miles invited me, and it was very spontaneous. They were coming through town, and they always have guest people, but it was the project was put together by David Wayne, who's a member of the State, and he's a comedy guy, but he also plays the drums. And I guess over COVID, it was like one of those things where he actually just kind of doubled down his interest in the drums because he actually had time on his hands, and just kind of got more into it. And now he's actually sort of puts the show together with his friends in Los Angeles, and then they just now they're like actually touring and stuff. So I was invited, and it seemed like it would be fun, and I just sort of jumped at the opportunity. I mean, basically, singing Born to Run is something that I've done at karaoke. So it was like I was just kind of doing my karaoke song.
Did you get to pick the song, or did they choose it for you?
No, they do it in their show.
Okay.
So they were like, "Would you be interested in this?" And I was like, "Sure, that sounds like fun."
And did you play for like 3 hours in 45 minutes like the boss would?
I wish. No, it was just the regular 4-minute version. But I have to say, I did try very hard to actually learn the words, which was a bigger assignment than I thought. Like when you're doing karaoke, you're kind of on training wheels.
Yep.
Right.
You got a crutch to lean on.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Nobody wants to see you up there singing off your phone necessarily.
Oh, yeah. Well, they actually have, their show is like epically long, and like a lot of modern shows, they actually do have, one of those things, like a
prompter?
a teleprompter type thing.
Wow.
And so it was actually right there. And when I came to sound check, they said, like, you can do it off the prompter if you want to. And I was like, oh no, it's actually, in a way, it's kind of great that it's there, but it's also something that can really diminish your performance, because all of a sudden you're glued to it, and all your insecurities are kind of locked in. So I was fine that it was there. A lot of times when you go up on a song, it's like you actually go up on the first line, not, but once you're in it, you're kind of on it, on track. And that's kind of what happened. I don't think it would have been a problem if it hadn't been there, because I was pretty much off it right from the jump, but I don't know.
Well,
a lot of words.
You've been performing for so long, you know how to handle if you suddenly have a blank mind and you can't think of the lyrics or something like that. You've been doing it long enough that you know how to handle that. And I don't think anybody's expecting professionalism from the dad band.
Perfection, at least.
That is probably true. Yeah. Well, everybody goes up now and then. It's, some things are more challenging than others, but I don't know. I tried. I think in a way, I've for years and years I played with this group. I played with this group called the Losers Lounge in New York City, and where you do a song. And I think it's just good when you're doing something like that to try to not be to be off book. Like if it's just one song, you got to kind of commit to learning it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Have you ever had that happen in a concert where you're just like, I cannot think of where I am in the song or the next chorus or lyrics? So bad that you almost had to stop? One time when we were on Conan. I mean, we were on Conan a million times. One time, I think the one we were doing, Why Does the Sunshine, the first time we were on Conan, right before we got, we counted, like, the song was about to start, I actually totally went up on the song and asked Linnell what the first line was, and that was very weird. But overall, we've been pretty lucky. Yeah. Well, I have a question for you that's one of my own, and then we're going to get into listener questions. But I know last year we talked to you quite a bit about the Beatles box set for Revolver, but have you had a chance to hear the new Beatles single at all? Oh yeah, I've sort of like mixed feelings about it. Like, I think it's. I just wish it was a sort of a stronger piece of material. I guess, and it's at this point it's like it's pure sentimentality. Like I think as a Beatles fan, it's strange to see it just go completely into this kind of self-reflexive, wasn't that a great time kind of mode, because it's in a way it kind of robs the Beatles of the thing that really was the engine of most of their career, which is that they were really a creative force. That they were doing things that surprised people, and I feel like this thing, of course, it makes people feel good in a way, I guess, but there's also part of it that just seems like this weird
Cyborg Crypt Keeper project that, like, I don't know. It's just a little too strange for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing them, I mean, nostalgia is kind of a big part of their brand at this point, but it's so nostalgia, it kind of bums me out.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have it, just were kind of recoiling, and it's hard to, listen, how old is Paul McCartney? He's 80 years old. I mean, Paul McCartney should just do whatever he wants to do, and just it's fine. Listen, he's done a lot of, like, amazing things that, like, nobody's ever, picked up on. Like, there's stray songs that, like, I've heard in the last year that from his solo career that I never really knew before, that are really great songs. Like, there's a song from an album called Memory Almost Full called It Was Me. That's a really, really interesting track. It's a really cool production. And there's this other song called Peggy Wren, and I can't remember which album it's on. But it's a more recent Paul McCartney solo album, and that's a fantastic song and very much in the mode of sort of classic Paul McCartney. But it's a beautiful, interesting piece of music with a great guitar part, and it's just very much pure Paul McCartney, but it's very fresh.
Mm-hmm. No, I will say, if you do pick up the new single, there is a backwards message in it, and I don't know how.
Oh, really?
Yes. I don't know how much you are aware of the fact that Paul McCartney died in 1966 in a car accident.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. Every November 9th, Tim and I on the morning show do a deep dive.
We spend 3 hours
playing the backwards messages and talking about the album hints. But there is a backwards message in this new 45, which we bought it just to play it in case there was something. And so we hadn't listened to it prior. Played it on November 9th on the morning show, and right towards the end, I heard it the first time we played it and started freaking out. And then after the show, we listened to it again, and I heard it again, and everybody else heard it as well. Because the story is they would put in backwards messages to try to get the fans to know that this had happened, because they were told they had to keep it a secret because the world would panic if they knew that Paul McCartney had died. So they do these backward messages as hints that Paul actually had passed away. And in the new 45, I wrote it down. It says, "I wonder if we would make lies in music." Sounds crazy, but it is very plain.
It's been confirmed by 2 other people, so it's basically fact at this point.
So if you pick up the 45, listen to it backwards.
If you have nothing better to do.
I appreciate that. I'm glad they're keeping that alive.
On the final Beatle thing that will be released.
Right.
that is really unlikely. That's great.
Well, you guys are fans of backwards things.
Yeah, tangentially in backwards music news, just last Monday, we actually recorded our backward, for a studio version of we tracked the studio version of our song Sapphire Bullets of Pure Love, which we've been performing backwards live. And so sometime in the relative near future, we look forward to we were thinking actually of doing like a two-sided, A-sided, I don't know what, maybe it's the first double B-sided single of this Staloub song with the. It's hard to even describe which version is which. Like the recording that we made performing the song sonically backwards, and then reversing the whole track and letting you hear it again. Finished live. You need in reverse.
You need to put that on a 45 and then a 12-inch extended remix version.
All right, I'm looking for the pre-order button right now.
Okay, yeah, But we have yet to do the vocals, but it's going to be it's going to be a labor of love.
Oh, wow.
Wow, are you going to have to relearn that? Because it's been a little while. Or is that one of those things
No. I mean, we actually, when we did the reference vocal, when we were tracking it, and it all, actually, we listened to the whole thing backwards, and it's pretty good. I mean, it actually, you can understand most of the words, and it even has sort of a lumpy charm to it. But there's part of me that I actually just want to do sort of a more precise version, just to show people how it can be done. Because this is part of a larger project for us, where we want to challenge bands that are performing their back catalog in their shows that they too should learn songs in reverse.
Oh, throwing down the gauntlet right
this
here.
Is very exciting.
On KMSU.
Exactly.
That would be amazing. I think that's it, because there's a lot of bands that are going out and playing full albums.
Pixies, can you hear us?
That's right. I'm talking to you, Frank Black or Charles Black Francis.
Exactly.
And so I've got, let's see, which question? Oh, I had a question about, there were a couple of folks that submitted questions who are in They Might Be Giant cover bands. One was called Minimum Wage, and the other one I didn't get a chance to see if it's real. A Scottish band called tribute band called They Might Be Gannets. But I was thinking about that. If you were ever to be in a They Might Be Giants cover band, what would you name your band? Because that's important in a cover band, what you decide to name your band. For example, we've had a long-standing joke of if we were in a Neil Young tribute band, we would call it A Taste of Pony.
Or if we were in a Yola Tango cover band, it would be I Have It.
I Have It, yeah.
Well, I think part of me thinks a good name for a They Might Be Giants cover band would be Dead, but the problem is people would think you were in a Grateful Dead cover band.
Oh yeah. That is a problem.
Imagine the disappointment.
Although, I mean, it would disappoint audiences, but it might help your turnout. I don't know. Well, let me ponder that for a second while
sure.
we answer another question.
All right. Well, here's one that I found intriguing. This is from Stella in Stockholm, Sweden. She says, "What is the first font that comes to mind if someone asks, what's your favorite font?"
Oh.
Please don't say Comic Sans. Please don't say Comic Sans.
I don't have the same beef with Comic Sans that other people do. I think it's. I mean, I don't know what the place for Comic Sans is. The truth is, I've actually kind of come back around to Helvetica, but I think maybe Gil Sans, which is like it's a Helvetica-like sans serif font that was used in the British Underground, like all the signage for the subways in London are in Gil Sans, and you can kind of identify it from that. And it's a kind of an eccentric font for a modern sort of sans serif font. So, yeah, Gil Sans.
All right. I have a question. Although quite a few people asked a similar type of question, but I noted Chris Tull of Maple Shade, New Jersey, wanted to know if you could give us an update on what's in the pipeline for vinyl releases coming up, because there's been quite a few reissues. Oh
yeah, a lot of things have come out. I'm trying to think what's still. There is a vinyl compilation that is it's not a re-release. It's one thing that we've noticed is that a lot of the efforts that we've done that were on EPs over the last 20 years, when we started, the EP was a very popular format for kind of promotional materials. Like if you had a song that you wanted to get played on the radio and stuff like that, putting out an EP was a good way to kind of promote it. So we made a lot of EPs along the way, and of all the things we've done, the stuff that was on those EPs was almost always the first thing to kind of go out of print. And there's just been a lot of people's favorites that were ended up as B-sides on EP projects. So we're actually doing a compilation of EP. It's mostly EP material. There's some other stuff on it. The package is going to be called The Spine Surfs Alone, but it's going to be. I don't have the track listing in front of me, but it's basically a set of like 20 songs from 1995 to 2005 or something like that are all things that basically have fallen out of print or never were in print or just were momentarily. Like there's a song called T-Shirt that was like a track that it actually. It was. I mean, to say it was it was deemed too like sort of adult sounding for the Disney Channel. So it didn't get included on one of the Disney projects. But it's a really interesting song. So we just thought like this is a perfect place to put it. So we're doing a little compilation album of rarities.
Oh,
that's coming out.
That is amazing. By the way.
Yeah. So. That'll be a nice piece, and I'm trying to think of what other actual proper reissues are coming out. Nothing else I can announce.
And again, thank you for Mankato.
Too far off.
I have all of the vinyl albums behind me. Not that I need them. I have everything that I've been playing on CDs, but I just like to have a backup, and I'm a vinyl collector anyway. So I've been so excited that all these things are coming out on vinyl, and chance to pick up all the stuff that I was missing. So would you ever think about putting out the kids albums on vinyl? And I hate to call them kids albums, but would you ever put some of those?
Actually, we just came out with Y on vinyl.
Yep, I've got that.
That came out just very only like a couple months back. And it's actually on Rainbow Vinyl, which is of all it's a totally psychedelic pressing. We're working on putting out No on vinyl.
Nice.
I mean, I don't even know how many titles there are left that aren't in print. Like we've really made a project out of getting everything going. The thing that happened with No is that it's the sizing the artwork up is really complicated because I don't know if there's any. There was no existing TIFF files that were easily blown up to 12 inches from the 5 inches of the CD. So that's the only complication left for a lot of things is figuring out how to get the artwork going. And it's a similar problem with John Henry. John Henry, Asbestos came out with a vinyl edition of John Henry, but all the artwork on the cover was blown up, and it was a little bit crude. Trying to figure out, we've been trying to locate the films for that, and that's proven to be a little bit more difficult because we, the distribution company that did all the Elektra stuff, basically, it seems like they just threw away their photo archive, 15 years ago or something, and while nobody was looking, and which is just one of the saddest things in the world because there's a million bands with a million projects that probably are wishing they'd gotten some kind of notice on that.
Yeah. I've been grabbing out the albums as you've been mentioning it and showing. I'm holding them up to the microphone so the world
so
can
everybody
see
can
them.
see the visual aids. Right.
Nice. Well, I like the idea of collecting vinyl as sort of like a music lover's version of like doomsday prepping.
Yes.
Well, there are certain artists in my life that I'm all in on, and try to be a completist, and They Might Be Giants is one of those bands. So
I appreciate that.
yeah, and I've got a big pile of the records behind me, and even more 45s at home that I didn't necessarily bring.
A nice idea to just say to just decide you're all in.
Oh yeah,
I think that's
yeah. I don't have a lot of artists. Kelly Stoltz, They Might Be Giants,
Yola Tango,
the Feelies, Yola Tango, Tom Waits, because I inherited my uncle's collection, so I have a lot of those. But yeah, I sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes, like with Kelly Stoltz, who puts out albums overseas more than in this country, it can be expensive.
Kelly Stoltz. Who's Kelly Stoltz?
Oh.
Kelly Stoltz is great, John.
He's a San Francisco musician. Does solo stuff.
A lot of home recording.
Yep, but he's just a pop god.
He just writes the catchiest songs, and a lot of times you're listening to them, and there'll be a moment where it takes this unexpected turn, and yet it's like absolutely the only way that song could go,
and
with chords and lyrics.
Yeah.
He's just wonderful.
Yeah, and
I'm write it down.
It's Kelly with the EY.
Right.
Yeah. And he played, I don't know if you're a big Echo and the Bunnymen fan, but he, at one point in his career, did a cover album of Crocodiles, so he released his own version of it, and they got a hold of it, and then the last bunch of years, whenever Echo and the Bunnymen goes out and tours, he's been playing rhythm guitar with them, so it's kind of a
interesting
fun thing for him to do. But yeah, I grab every They Might Be Giants album that comes out, and will continue to do so. So you're guaranteed a sale with me for whatever you put out.
Oh, I appreciate that completely. Well, now I'm trying to think of like Echo and the Bunnymen. Wait, he's like a de facto member of Echo and the Bunnymen?
He's kind of become that. Yeah, he's toured. I think the last 2 or 3 tours he's been out on the road with them. Yeah,
wow.
In fact, that's how we got to meet him when he came through up in the Twin Cities.
Because he never tours the U.S., because it's so expensive, and he's kind of an independent musician. But yeah, we got to see him when he was with Echo, so that counts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there's a kind of Yola Tango song that I've become really fixated with.
Oh, which one?
It's sort of a mode of recording that they do. I'm trying to. There's one song that's off of, I think, a relatively recent track, a recent album, and it's actually a cover of a sort of a proto disco song. I think the artist was George McRae, the guy who did Rock Your Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God.
It's
got like sort of a dreamy chorus, like...
I know it because it's on my wanted list to find the original George McRae, so I will find it.
Oh, it's on Spotify. It's on Spotify, and it's.
But I, of course, want to pick up the vinyl.
What is it? The song is called like "You Can Do What You Want."
You can have it all,
or something.
You can
have it all.
Yep.
Great song.
Bum, 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 bum,
yeah,
bum, bum. Yep.
The thing that's so cool about it is that it has a drum. It has like an early like Acetone drum machine type pattern in it that's actually being played through an amp, which is such a familiar sound to me, and yet it's something that I've never. It's a very mossy way to hear a drum machine, but it's also a sound that I've never really heard on a record. Most people, when they actually commit, if you're Blondie and you're committing to working with, that kind of drum machine, you try to get it as like crisp and pristine as you can. But their move was to kind of embrace the analog, and they've done a couple of songs that way, and I really those are some of my favorite songs by them.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites too. But we should ask some more questions.
Yeah, we had a few people ask this question, but Carson in Texas says, do you have a specific routine for writing songs, and have you ever had the lyrics ready before the music?
Oh, certainly. There are times now that I feel like I feel like the success rate of writing a song with a kind of a kicker line or some kind of title in mind or opening line in mind is much higher than just writing a piece of music with some fa-la-las in it. I think both John and I have like small stacks of kind of completed songs with no lyric applied, and it's just like if you don't have a notion of what lyric is going to drive the song, it's much more treacherous. Like you run the risk of really not being able to kind of categorize or assign a lyrical idea to a song. So I really try to start with some kind of toehold in language, and it just seems it's if you start with a lyrical idea, and it doesn't have to be like the whole lyric, but if you start with a little peg of a lyrical idea, the chances of getting to the other side of finishing the song seem much, much higher. I mean, that's just my personal experience.
Did you basically, when you first started writing songs, is it different? I imagine just because you've been doing it for so many years, your process has changed. But did you listen to other songs to get an idea about how to do your songs, or did you just kind of pick what worked and went from there?
Well, I think, when we started, we were working with a drum machine. So like the huge advantage of that was like, even if you were just trying to reproduce like a super established rhythm, you might not even be able to get that close to it. Like if you just, be like, you might be trying to figure out how to do something that was like a swing rhythm, but instead it comes out like on the drum machine, it starts sounding like New Jack Swing or something. So it's like there was always this weird handshake trying to collaborate with the drum machine. I think there have been times when we've there are lots of stylistic things that you take from other songs, and there might just be like more songs, more styles in play, even just in one song. For some reason, the thing that's coming up is like, and I've told this story before, but I guess that's going to happen. In the live show, when we first started touring, we did a song called "Lie Still Little Bottle," which is a song that I would play some kind of something to kind of create a backbeat. Mm-hmm. And the song it's very much like "The Cat Came Back." John would play a bass line on a saxophone, and I would just sort of slam out a backbeat and sing the song. And it was very simple. Like, it was incredibly spare. It was like a bass line, a song with a bass line and a vocal and a backbeat. And in a way, it was sort of a demonstration of like how streamlined a song could be and still feel like a song. And we never thought about how to arrange it until we were making our second album, Lincoln. And then it just seemed a little too spare to call it a finished production. And we actually referenced the song 16 Tons by Tennessee Ernie Ford, which is also a very spare recording with essentially a bass line. It's also kind of a Cat Came Back kind of song. if you compare the two tracks, we sort of echo a bunch of production moves that they make. Like there's a point where just a single very low piano note happens, and there's a point where there's like there's a little clarinet moment where just, two clarinets in harmony play with each other, but they never reappear. There's all sorts of little surprise elements in our version of Lie Still Little Bottle that are just echoes of the arrangement moves of 16 Tons.
I love it.
Which is kind of a stoned idea, but
yeah, no, I'm not. If you've told that story before, I haven't heard it, so that's fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I know that there's that another band did the exact same thing. It's a weird kind of musical tribute because it's not rhythmic or melodic. It's or harmonic. It's not based on the actual music. It's just based on the turns of the arrangement. There's a song the very strange parallel. There's a song by Cheap Trick called The Flame. It was like their like big like end of career power ballad. And it is completely, all the production turns are based on a song by a group called Spirit. And the rest I leave to Wikipedia because I do not even remember what the song by Spirit is. But, excuse me. I know that that song has the exact same vibe.
Interesting. Now I'm going to have to figure that out. Although that means I'd have to listen to The Flame, which isn't...
Yeah.
The Flame is kind of a treacherous song.
Yes. Yeah. And so I have a question about... I know there's been lots of hints in photos and such, and you mentioned you were in the studio. You're working on a new album. Is there anything you can tease us about that process? And I know it's coming out in 2024, but anything you'd like to say about that, or you can say about it without giving away the goods?
We're at a very familiar place for us right now because we're kind of finishing up, but at the same time we're becoming aware of the shape of what it is, and I think I want to the whole thing has been interrupted. The process of this record has been interrupted enough that we can barely remember when it started. So I think we might want to just kind of go another round right now before we even declare it done. We've probably tracked 20 songs, and they sound really good. Like there's some really interesting things we haven't done before, and there's some very horn-centric songs on it that are really have a nice new color to them. We've been working with a horn section for the last year, so there's no shortage of interesting material. But I feel like and I guess everybody always gets to this point. It was like it would be nice if there was something super poppy and undeniable, and so maybe that's what we'll be reaching for in the next couple of months. But right now, it's just, when we did Join Us, I think that was the only album that we actually started working on and then stopped to sort of regroup, because we had just been on this solemn ride of making adult albums and children's albums, and I think we had made something like 3 albums over the course of 2 years already. And then it just seemed like, I think there was a notion, it's probably more popular with our management at the time than with us, but there was a notion that we could just keep on writing continuously if we were supposed to, and if we were given that assignment, and we found out in the middle of making Join Us that was not the case. But by the end of that project, we probably had a stack of 30 songs, and some of them were pretty lumpy, but ultimately, I think it did make Join Us kind of a stronger set because we were really culling it from a very big stack of tracks.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we don't really have any master plan, but this album. One thing I can say is this album will have more horns on it than probably any album in recent memory.
Okay.
That's exciting. We have a question here from Susie in Poland who says, your songs have a lot of vivid or surreal imagery in their lyrics, so that made me wonder, if you were offered to have one of your albums adapted into an animated movie or show, which album would you choose and what type of animation or overall stylistic direction would you go with?
Wow. Well, there's so many animated versions of songs of ours. I don't know. Let's see. Like I wonder what album would take best to animation. I mean, in some ways, maybe our first album would be the sort of, that might be the springiest one. Gee whiz, I don't know. Or maybe, Apollo 18 might be sort of a close second to that. I don't know. But, if anyone wants to make an all-animated version of any of our albums, I just want to say this is your permission slip.
Oh,
yes.
Excellent.
Do that.
I can see people going, wait a minute, I'm taking I'm taking the next month off, getting the team together.
Year 11, wow. Some people have NaNoWriMo, other people, that animated They Might Be Giants challenge.
Oh, that's awesome.
They might be animating, they might be giants.
Well, I have another question from Johnny Brawley of North Carolina, who is asking for permission. He is a biology student graduating this December with a focus in entomology. If he ever manages to find a new species sometime in his career, does he have your blessing to name it after They Might Be Giants?
Well, of course, but I wonder what new species are left to be found. Are we talking about Bigfoot, or are we talking about some slime mold underneath the rock?
Be something.
I'm guessing it'd be closer to the slime mold, but just because.
Well, I guess either one would be kind of shocking, but that's fantastic.
Awesome.
All right. Oh, we're coming up on the top of the hour, so I feel like we should probably ask this question now. The big question. Book. What are you reading right now, John?
Yeah.
What am I reading right now? I just read a book called Numbers Go Up. Who the author is a journalist, and I can't remember his name. It's sort of a pop book about the cryptocurrency explosion and implosion, and it was a really fascinating story. He was a journalist for I think maybe a publication called Business Insider, if memory serves. But he basically kind of got into tracking the world of cryptocurrency relatively late. But because he was an investigative journalist, he ended up essentially going around the world to talk to all these different people, and in the middle of his inquiry, you get the impression that there was a company called Tether that offered all these assurances of safety and connections between cyber currency, their coin and their exchange. I don't know if it was an exchange or not, but basically whatever structure they had in place was kind of tied to the dollar, and their whole pitch was that they were doing things in a safer way. And he was really skeptical of that. And there's actually the author also had access to Sam Bankman-Fried, and there's a couple of times in the book where he goes to talk with Sam Bankman-Fried, and their conversations are about whether or not this other company is legit. And they're very strange conversations, because like a lot of things with Sam Bankman-Fried, there's this general assumption that he's the one who's doing it safely. Like part of his public profile was that he was legit, compared to the other, rug pulls and con artists floating around the crypto world. So it's a fascinating book, and absolutely it's very much a shaggy dog story. But I would recommend it to anybody. It's very well written about something that could be kind of technical. It's called Number Goes Up.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending an entire hour with us once again.
Oh, well, it's gone by in a flash, and thank you so much for playing the music. I really appreciate it, and thank you for playing the song off the EP. That's
oh yeah,
that's fantastic. I'm so glad you have it.
Oh yeah, I got it in the mail last week, so good time.
Yeah,
good timing.
Yeah,
and because of course I try to have everything that people request. And if I don't, I have a list, and I try to find it before the next year goes out. But
all right.
Thank you so much, John. And what are your big plans for the weekend?
What am I doing this weekend? There's some social event. It's not a poker game, but it's at the place where the poker games happen. So I'm getting together with friends in Manhattan. So
nice.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. Well, thanks again.
Yeah, and we will talk to you hopefully next year. And good luck on all the big projects coming up.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah, we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks,
all right,
John.
Thanks, John.
Okay. All right. Adios.
Bye-bye.